Hey, good morning YouTube, it's Ted, Black Pearl Voyager, and we're out in the garage today because I'm going to do a review and something else I don't often do, and that's an unboxing, but let me show you why. So for quite a little while now I have been using the Bulldog Winch external air compressor on Serenity, my JK, and now the Pearl. The problem is it rolls around a lot back in the back. I have to make room for it somewhere, and so my solution is to try to get it out of the back of the Jeep. This last trip to Overland Expo in Arizona, it was kind of a hindrance. I like to keep this accessible, so it's pretty much the first thing out and the last thing that goes in the back. It's a nice unit though, and it works well, but I've got bigger plans. As you can see, I've got some work cut out for me here. I've got the ARB Twin compressor here, the air compressor pump up kit, and one other item that I'm actually going to do an unboxing for because I like this, and I've never seen anybody box anything up quite as well as 813, so stay tuned. But what I really wanted to talk to you today about was this mounting plate for under the hood by 813 Design, Fabrication and Design. I'd seen this on YouTube a couple of times, and I thought, yeah, that looks like just exactly what I have in mind. This will go under the hood. It does displace the fascia plate that goes over the top of the motor, but I'm going to figure out a way to actually reinstall that, so stay tuned for that. What impressed me about this, and the reason I'm doing an unboxing, is because I can't believe the way this thing was packaged. I got a nice personalized note from Jeremy. Thanks for the order, Theodore. That's me. And a couple of stickers. Some really nice instructions. Very clear. Beautiful pictures. Easy to see. Nothing you have to squint at. At least for me, I don't have to squint. And evidently he does a little origami too, so. But this is a good example of customer service a little above and beyond the call as far as I'm concerned. On top of that, what I ordered in order to try to save some money was a blemished product. It was not supposed to come with any hardware or the plate that mounts to the front where you mount your remotely mount your air filters and a switch. But I'm going to use the factory switch in the Gladiator to activate this, and I'm eventually going to route the hose inlet or outlet somewhere external to the Jeep so I don't have to open the hood. I just hit the auxiliary switch in the dashboard of the Jeep and plug in my kit, my hose, compressor pump kit, and do it that way. But I was very impressed by the way this was packaged. So I'm guessing that he didn't have any more blems, because I've got a feeling that this is probably a full-blown, and I'm telling you, this stuff is really packaged well. It wasn't supposed to come with this. It was supposed to be just the plate, and here's the cover plate with the switch cut outlet, and I can either put both air filters here or a chuck. Not sure what I'll do with it, but it's nice to have this. This was not supposed to be with it. So I got to give him props. He sent me, it looks like the full kit, And the way it's packaged, I wouldn't expect this to be a blemished item, but maybe it is. Hang in there with me for a few minutes and we'll find out together. Because this is really, really well packaged. I wasn't expecting any hardware, and I was expecting a used part, or one that had been installed, or one that they shot a YouTube video with, and this is brand new. And it is pristine. It doesn't have a mark on it. So props to Jeremy there at 813 Fab. This thing is beautiful, and this is the solution to my air compressor problem. This fits both the dual compressor and the single compressor. Has lots of mounting features. If you're running lockers, there's a spot here for your locker accumulator. It's what it is. It's an accumulator. Builds up a little bit of pressure. In other words, so you have some pressure behind it. And yeah, that's brand new. So I'm really impressed. And I think if you're planning on going with a dual compressor or even a single compressor, don't put it under the seat. Don't tear your fender off to get it into the firewall. What for? Why do that when there's something like this available? So, thanks 813 Designs. Now, I've always felt that there's an old saying in business that anybody can provide poor service. But it's guys like Jeremy here at 813 that go just a little above and beyond. He's going to do well, especially with this bracket. There's also a business saying that goes something like, if you do good, I'll tell 10 people. And if you screw me over, I'll tell everyone. Well, in this case, I'm going to tell everyone that 813 Designs really did me right. And I think this is going to be a great product. So stay tuned. I'm going to do an install video using this very item with the ARB Twin compressor, which needs no introduction or review. Everybody knows what it is. So here's a little preview of the design of this 813 mounting plate for the dual compressor. As you can see, it fits on there absolutely spectacularly. And this plate can be mounted here or back here if you want. It depends. If you have lockers, you're going to need that accumulator, and it will mount here also, and with this plate. Of course, you get your switch with the ARB, and this fits both the single and the dual compressor. So I was originally going to get the single compressor, but Merry Christmas to me, my wife went ahead without my knowledge and got the dual air compressor. So thank you, Monica. Oh yeah, it's going to fit right there perfectly. So this is the area where it fits, right in here. As a matter of fact, you remove this cover here, and they say to toss it. I'm not going to toss mine though. I'm going to go ahead and cut it, I think, to fit, so that I at least have this half from here to here covered. And I'll figure out a way to support it, because right now it's only supported in two places, here and here. Once you take these screws out, you just pop it out. There's a couple of grommets in the back that it just slides into. And yeah, I'm going to figure out a way to retain this, at least on this half of the engine. But yeah, it mounts to this plate here and to that screw right there. Didn't want it inside the car underneath the passenger seat. That's a hassle to get to, and it's noisy besides. and I definitely didn't want to pull my fender off and mount it to the firewall down there and having to add heat shields and all kinds of stuff, and then it's nearly inaccessible for service. So this is going to work out much better for me. Yeah, this is going to be simple enough that I'm not even going to break out the power tools here. These are 10 millimeter, just like I thought. Only 2 to remove. And no need for power tools. And it fits here on that, and here on that, and it fits just so. And I mean, that's it. Ah yes, this will make a nice workbench. I've decided I'm going to orient it with the, if I can, with the cables against the motor and the intakes into the compartment a little bit more. So we'll have to see how that goes. Ah yes, plenty of places to mount. So, yep, 4 bolts, 4 thick washers, 4 lock washers. That's the whole kit. So I've decided that I am going to go ahead and use some blue Loctite gel here. And I was concerned about over tightening these into an aluminum housing, but as it turns out, they're rib nuts in a steel plate. So I shouldn't have any issue with stripping them out, but I have a history of stripping stuff out. So. Okay, the recommended heat shield. It does not come with it. It's something that you have to order. Before I stick anything to this, I'm going to clean it up with some 91% alcohol. And then I've got some sound deadening strips from a project that I worked on. It was the hothead headliners for the Gladiator, and this stuff will make real good heat resistant. I just need to cut some strips here. And who knows, maybe it'll deaden the sound a little. Okay, setting it into place is not really a big issue, but it is heavy. It's almost 20 pounds. Now it's just a matter of putting the hardware back in place. A thick rubber washer, a large washer, and a rather long bolt, and this goes into the threaded mount point here. And Jeremy does recommend that you do Loctite these. The idea behind the thick rubber washer is not to tighten these down real tight, and the reason is because it's mounted hard here and then it floats here on the engine, and in order for it to float more readily, you actually leave this hardware somewhat loose so that you can actually get some movement out of the motor without torquing the plate. Well folks, it's a new day and there's been a change in the weather, and the reason I'm not filming this all on one day is because when you get your ARB Twin compressor, it will come with all the wiring, harness, and stuff you need. As a matter of fact, I don't need this at all, and this I only need the purple wire from, and it's a long loom. But I'm not going to cut it up, I'm not going to butcher it, I'm going to go ahead and keep it whole in case I want to sell this or upgrade or get rid of it. But what the twin compressor does not come with is any plumbing. No plumbing at all. And if you buy the pump up kit, you will get this fitting right here. Okay, it's a T fitting, and it's for a very specific compressor. This T fitting is designed so that you can screw in your pressure sensing switch here and then have an outlet here for your hose connections. Now, unfortunately, the twin compressor already has a built-in one, and so this piece for me is unusable. I suppose I could plug the hole and then plumb it, but by the time you put this in here and then another 90 coming off of it to go to a hose or something, it's into the hood with the way this is mounted in the Gladiator right now. So this is useless, and the reason it's a new day is because you got to do some shopping. I was able to find something that I think is going to work until I get the notion to mount my outlet externally. So let me show you what I got. Alrighty, here's what I picked up. This is a 90-degree half or quarter-inch NPT with an outlet. This one happens to swivel. Now, how long it takes for that to start leaking, I guess we'll find out. But anyway, that's all I could find locally, sourced locally here. The fact that it swivels will be nice because the chuck that plugs in here will be able to swing from one side of the vehicle to the other. Like, is that really going to matter? Probably not a great deal. But this is what I was able to source locally. I'm going to go ahead and tape it up with some Teflon tape. Okay, while I was in there wrapping the Teflon tape around my fitting here, I went ahead and mounted my chuck. It's got a good generous amount of Teflon tape. Make sure before you screw it on here that the tape isn't laying over the hole. Sometimes it'll stretch over the hole. Do your best to keep that from happening. And now I'm just going to take my 16mm wrench and turn that right onto the compressor. It won't interfere with the hood opening or closing. Now it looks like I'm not going to have full swivel, but pretty close. Is this going to give me trouble now? Probably. Yeah, now see, the fitting is so deep that I can't get the wrench on it anymore. So we'll have to see how we're going to overcome that, because I don't think I have a wrench half this thick. It's always something. Actually, as it turns out, I do have a wrench that's half as thick. I actually custom ground this one for my Fordham tool. I moonlight as a gunsmith, and I needed a wrench that I could tighten my Fordham tool. So this one's cut very thin. It's a 5/8, but it's close enough to 16 that I should be able to get it in there. Yep. So, as luck would have it, mischief is managed, and I should be able to cinch this in here. Yep, no problem. I actually don't moonlight as a gunsmith. I'm actually a trained gunsmith, but it's something I do. So as I indicated before, there are two wiring harnesses that come with this, and you're going to need actually three. I'm going to need at least two of them. I'm not going to hack this apart. Like I said, I'm going to keep it intact. I'll just route it in such a way that it's not too obvious, and then I will be connecting one end to my under the dash switches. Probably this, well actually it doesn't need to be the heavy one. Whichever one of these that I haven't already used, because I've used one from underneath the dashboard, will be used to power the pump. And now it doesn't have to be a high amperage, because it's the compressor that draws the current. This is simply a relay that uses a small current in order to start a larger current. So it does not have to be a high current wire. The wires for the switches are very thin, and so there's not a lot of current here. Everything is done inside the compressor. So best to get to wiring, I guess, huh? Figuring out a route. and where I'm going to stuff the excess cable. Probably right down here between the battery and I might be able to lose some back here behind the fuse box too. Hopefully I can feed this in back behind the mount. I've got my fingers on it, but it's one of those monkey trap types of things where if you grab it you can't move it, but if you let go. Okay, so that actually went pretty well, and it's just a matter of getting it tucked in. That simply plugs in to this connector here, and what I will likely do is bend this stuff back behind this hose and route the wire similar to that, so it's tucked up in there really nice. Now for the small one, and I should be able to do the same thing here if I can get my fingers on it. Yes, and there it is. And here's the connector for this, and I think I'll keep it on top. These are polarized. You can only plug them in one way. No issue there. Then I'll cut my cover and cover up the wiring here with the cover. So there's a lot of extra wiring here from this switch harness. So I'm going to take some larger tie wraps and just kind of bundle it up nicely. You never want to tighten your tie wraps real tight. The vibration will cut right through the wires after a while. So leave them a bit loose. And this should give me just enough length to reach my auxiliary switch harness. So I'll probably tape off these two and ground this one and connect this one to my auxiliary switch behind the fuse box. Okay, hopefully I haven't lost it back there forever. Alright, it's also resting on that cable, heavy cable that I ran through there, so that should be adequate support. Alrighty, let's see if this fancy thing works. I don't like it particularly. Yeah, this is awfully heavy gauge for that. I may have to, well, that didn't work out too bad. Take 2 hits at it, I should say. Twist it on there pretty good. And yes, we have it in there nice. Find the yellow crimper here. And Bob's your uncle. Okay, one of these 2 wires here is my power from the auxiliary switches under the in the Jeep, and so I've turned on the ignition, and I have turned on auxiliary number 4 rather than getting out the book and looking it up, and it looks like, okay, it's the blue with the white pink, the light pink wire. That's going to be my trigger for the pump. So just a matter of swedging on a couple of ends, plugging it in, and we'll test it out. So this ground wire here is just a tiny little wire, just tiny. But the lug that I need to use is this size here, and that's a humongous hole. So what I did was, it came already with a spade on it, and I just bent it back and forth till it snapped off. That leaves the nice swedged end on the wire here, and that fits really nicely into the large lug, and so my ground situation is solved. Okay, so I picked everything up because this is Oregon and it's starting to rain. So if I did this right, I should be able to go in, and I'm going to go ahead and start the engine and turn on the auxiliary 4 switch, and the compressor should light up immediately, and it should run for just a few seconds, and cut off, and if it does that, I know I've done my homework. I got it in there correctly. So stand by here for a second. And there you have it. Fired up the engine, hit the auxiliary switch, you heard it light up, and I must have sealed it up pretty good because it didn't come back on. I call that a win. Anyway, now I get to figure out how to reuse this. Okay, I've identified here where in the engine bay this just misses the pump. So that lines up just about with these two, and so just a straight edge along here, just some sort. In this case I've got my wife's something or other here. Don't tell her. And I mark that end. Now I've got 2 points to cut to. Right here and right here, straight line across. Go ahead and extend this up here to here. Extend this up to here. Should be able to match those two lines up and get a fairly straight cut across there. I'm going to be using a jigsaw with a metal blade. A jigsaw with a metal cutting blade. All jigsaws have metal blades, at least as far as I know. Anyway, and I thought I'd just mark a straight line, freehand cut it, and then trim it up with a blade of some sort, or my sander or something. Shouldn't be too complicated. So I'll let you know how that turns out. Just need something to make a straight edge. And there's the edge I'm going to cut it along. And like I said, I'll just freehand it, and should be pretty easy. Make sure we don't cut the tailgate of the Wagoneer off here. It needs enough work as it is. I don't need to mess that up. Okay, I'd rather do this on the other side since I am not left-handed. Let's see how this goes. And Bob's your uncle. Looks kind of dumb, but at least it's got a nice edge, and I'll clean that up. And let's fit it into place, see if it works. I might even wash that. Okay, here's the initial test fit. Now I already know I'm going to run into problems with support here, but I may be able to come up with a way to support that. And as you can see, that actually did really nice, and by the time I get this down, there's not enough leverage here for that to really be an issue. So yeah, check that out. I think it worked out good. You guys tell me what you think down in the comments. So if you liked this video and you'd like to see more of them, well, that's really too bad, because the Black Pearl's finished. Not another thing going to be done to it. It's complete, it's whole, it's 100% what it is. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you. Anyway, I am planning a loadout video, one that shows our complete loadout in the back. And well, most of you have seen a lot of what's going on the outside of the Gladiator. I haven't been through the interior yet, and there's been a lot of improvements and a lot of upgrades in there too. So we're planning on one of those videos too. So like and subscribe. Feel free to comment, ask questions, and until next time, this is Ted, Black Pearl Voyager.